Welcome to the deep dive. You've probably heard the chatter, maybe seen the buzz online. Unreal Editor for Fortnite, or UEFN as everyone calls it.
Yeah, it's generating some serious excitement.
Absolutely. It feels like it's promising a revolution in what you can actually do inside Fortnite. So today, we're going to unpack that for you. Our mission here is to give you, our listener, a really clear roadmap. How do you even start with UEFN? What can you realistically build? What are the speed bumps you might hit?
Right, the hurdles.
Yeah.
And what does it actually cost to get going?
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, how you could turn that creativity into, well, something more.
Yeah, we've been digging into the guides, the articles, looking at UFN itself, how Fortnite Creative has evolved, and what strategies creators are starting to use.
So think of this as your practical guide, cutting through the hype to get to the essentials.
Pretty much. What UFN actually is, how you begin, the tricky bits, the costs, which are maybe less than you think, and yeah, how you might actually make some money from it.
Okay, so let's dive right in then. UEFN. What is it fundamentally, and why all the excitement? It sounds like more than just a little update to creative mode.
Oh, definitely more. Well, what makes it really transformative is the sheer power it gives creators. You're essentially getting access to a really powerful toolkit.
Like Unreal Engine itself.
A streamlined version, yeah, tailored for Fortnite. So you can build custom maps, sure, but also entirely new game modes with a level of detail and complexity that just wasn't possible before.
Wow.
You can create experiences that feel almost like standalone games, but they live inside Fortnite's ecosystem. And I think the excitement really comes from putting these powerful tools into the hands of this massive existing player base. It's quite democratizing, really.
So it's not just about, putting a new skin on an old map type. What doors does this open for someone with a vision?
Well, it plugs into this whole trend of user-generated content, but on a much more sophisticated level. For creators, it's a chance to properly unleash their imagination, build really unique interactive worlds. And if you build something compelling, you can actually start to build a dedicated community around your creations, people who seek out your stuff.
Interesting.
That then leads to networking, maybe collaborating with other creators, and the big one for many, it connects you to the Fortnite creator economy.
Right, you mentioned revenue. That's the potential pathway to actually earning something.
Exactly. It offers tangible ways to generate revenue based on how popular and engaging your islands are. We're seeing early examples already, creators getting real traction.
That's definitely going to grab people's attention. Now, the Lego integration, that made some waves. How does that fit into UEFN?
Yeah, that was a big step, adding the Lego assets and gameplay support early in 2024. It basically means creators can use those iconic bricks, the minifigs.
In their own maps?
Yeah, exactly. Build with them, interact with them. They've got physics, building mechanics. You can even have destructible Lego stuff. Think about building games, Lego adventure maps.
Wow.
Or even just adding Lego elements to other game types. It just broadens the toolkit, opens up completely different creative possibilities,
That sounds like a massive expansion. And then there's Verse. That's the scripting language, right? Is that something a beginner needs to wrestle with straight away?
Versus, well, it's the key to custom gameplay logic. It's the language you use to define your game's rules, trigger events, handle player interactions, all that complex stuff. Now, you can start using the visual scripting tools the pre-made devices Epic provides, and that's a great way to begin.
Okay.
But if you really want deep control and customization, learning Verse is where it's at. The good news is it's designed to be quite readable, more accessible than maybe C++ or something. So yeah, it's a worthwhile time investment if you want to go beyond the basics.
Okay. UEFN sounds incredibly powerful, almost dauntingly so. For someone listening who's thinking, right, I want to try this, what are the first practical steps, the nuts and bolts of getting started?
First hurdle, system requirements. You got to make sure your computer can actually run it smoothly.
Right. What are we talking minimum-wise?
Minimum is Windows 10, 64-bit, a quad-core processor, about 2.5 gigahertz or faster, 8 gigs of RAM. For graphics, something like an NVIDIA GeForce 470 GTX or an AMD Radeon 6870 HD, DirectX 11. And you'll need at least 100 gigs of free storage space.
Okay, that's the minimum baseline. What about recommended for a better experience?
Yeah, for smoother sailing, they recommend a faster processor, maybe 3 gigahertz plus. 16 gigs of RAM is definitely better. Graphics-wise, step up to something like a GeForce GTX 970 or an AMD R9 390 or better. And maybe aim for 200 gigs of storage just to be safe.
Got it. Okay, assuming you got the hardware sorted, what's the actual install process like? Is it complicated?
No, actually, it's pretty straightforward. You need the Epic Games launcher first. If you don't have it, just download it free from their website.
Okay.
Then sign in with your Epic account or make one if you need to. That's free too. Inside the launcher, find the Unreal Engine tab. You'll see the option for Unreal Editor. Click Install, pick where you want it to go, let it download and install.
And then?
Then you just launch it by clicking Unreal Editor. That opens up the project browser. From there, you can start a new project, open one you've already got, or check out the templates and examples Epic provides.
Any pitfalls there? Anything to watch out for during setup?
One key tip, especially for Windows users, try not to create your UEFN projects directly inside your OneDrive folder.
Oh, why is that?
It can sometimes cause weird issues with file syncing and project stability. Just safer to put it somewhere else in your drive.
Good tip. Okay, so software's installed, launched. We're looking at the UEFN interface. It probably looks complex at first glance. Can you break down the main areas?
Yeah, it can seem like a lot initially, but it's logically laid out. Up top, you've got the menu bar, standard stuff, file, edit, settings.
Okay.
Below that, the toolbar, quick buttons for saving, playtesting, opening the content browser, things like that.
Right.
The big main window is the viewport. That's your 3D view, where you actually build and move things around.
Makes sense.
Over on the left, usually, is the modes panel. That's where you switch between different tool sets like placing objects, painting terrain, sculpting landscapes.
Got it.
Down at the bottom, the content browser, super important. That's where all your assets live, models, textures, sounds, code, everything organized.
Your library, basically.
Exactly. And then on the right side, you typically have two key panels. The Details panel shows all the properties of whatever you've selected. You tweak settings there. And the World Outliner is like a list, a hierarchy of every single object in your current scene.
Okay, that gives us a good map of the territory. So we're oriented. Where do we actually begin making something? What are the core tools we'll use most?
Your main workspace is the level editor. That's where you assemble everything.
Yeah.
But UEFN also pulls in Fortnite Creative directly.
Ah, so you get all those existing Fortnite props and devices.
Exactly. A huge library ready to go. Then for custom stuff, custom rules, that's where Verse comes in the scripting. Right. For the ground, the world itself, you'll use the landscape tools.
Yeah.
And for how things look, the textures, the surfaces, that's the material editor. Those are really your key building blocks.
Landscape tools sound fundamental for making an island. How do they work in practice, basically?
Pretty intuitively. You go to that modes panel on the left, click the landscape tab. That opens the landscape tools.
Sure.
In the new landscape section, you can set things like how big the terrain is, how detailed it is, parameters like components, quads, sections.
So you define the basic shape and size.
Yeah. Once you set those numbers, you just hit create. Boom, you've got your starting landscape in the viewport. Then you can start sculpting it, making hills, valleys, whatever you need.
Okay, that's the basic terrain, but what if you want something more intricate, more realistic looking? Are there advanced tricks?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You can use things like terrain height maps. These are just grayscale ages where black is low, white is high, and grays are in between.
Ah, so you can import a map.
Exactly. You can import a height map, maybe one based on real-world data or one you made yourself, and instantly generate really detailed terrain from it. Saves a ton of sculpting time.
Cool. Well, what else?
Then there's terrain lighting. This is crucial for mood. You place different light sources, like a main directional light for the sun, spotlights, ambient lights, and tweak them to get the right feel, the right realism.
Lighting makes a huge difference.
Massive.
Right.
And finally, terrain painting. This is how you apply different textures, grass, rock, sand, snow, whatever, directly onto the landscape. You can blend them together to make different areas look distinct, create different biomes.
Okay, so you're sculpting, painting, lighting. It sounds like you end up with a lot of assets. Models, textures, materials, sounds. How do you stop it becoming a total mess? Organization must be key.
Oh, absolutely critical. Good asset management from the start saves so much pain later. The basics. Use folders religiously.
Like folders for textures, folders for models.
Yeah, or by level or by function, whatever makes sense for your project. Just be consistent.
Yeah.
And naming conventions. Give everything clear, consistent names. Like prop barrel Rusty 8 tells you way more than asset 123. Maybe include type, purpose, version.
Right.
Use tags, too. You can add keywords to assets, makes searching way easier later. If you're changing assets a lot, think about asset versioning, keeping older copies just in case.
Good safety net.
Definitely. And regular cleanups. Go through and delete stuff you're not actually using, keeps the project size down, helps load times. Finally, look into collections. They're like smart folders, grouping assets based on rules without actually moving the files.
Okay, solid advice. Staying organized sounds crucial. Now, let's talk about the less fun stuff, the challenges. What kind of problems do creators typically run into with UEFN?
Performance is a big one. Lag, slow load times,
Eh.
especially when you're starting out.
What usually causes that?
Often it's down to the assets themselves, using textures that are way too high resolution for where they're being used, or 3D models that are super complex, like millions of polygons when they don't need to be.
Right, using assets that are too heavy. So how do you fix that? How do you optimize?
Well, like we just touched on, manage your assets. Reduce texture sizes where you can get away with it. Simplify model geometry. But beyond that, a huge technique is using LODs.
LODs.
Level of detail models. You create simpler versions of your models. The engine automatically swaps them in when the object is far away from the camera. Less detail needed, less work for the computer.
Ah, clever.
Big performance saver. Also, look at your shadows. They can be expensive. Optimize the quality settings. Maybe even turn off shadows completely for small or unimportant objects.
Okay.
Where possible, think about baking lighting. This pre-calculates static lighting, so the engine doesn't have to do it in real time. If your world is really big, you absolutely need to look into level streaming.
What's that?
It breaks your map into chunks. Only the chunks near the player are loaded in memory, essential for large environments. And finally, use culling techniques like occlusion culling. Tell the engine not to even bother drawing stuff that's hidden behind other objects.
So lots of techniques to squeeze out performance. Does UEFN help you find the problems?
Yeah, it has built-in performance monitoring tools. You can use those to profile your game and see exactly what's causing slowdowns. Very useful.
What about working in teams? Does that introduce a unique problem?
Oh yeah, collaboration brings its own set of challenges. The main one is version control.
Making sure everyone's working on the same version, not overwriting each other's work.
Exactly. UEFN has integration with Unreal revision control systems. You really need to use those features. Things like auto checkout can stop two people editing the same file at once. And everyone needs to sync their work regularly with the main project.
So discipline is key.
And communication. Just talking about who's working on what part of the project helps avoid a lot of headaches.
Okay. We also saw a specific error message mentioned in research. 16 found disallowed object type. Sounds ominous. What is that?
Yeah, that means you've somehow got an asset in your project that UEFN doesn't actually allow. Maybe something imported incorrectly or an old type that's no longer supported.
How do you fix it? How do you even find the problem asset?
Best place to look is the output log in UEFN. It usually tells you which file has the invalid content and sometimes the name of the object.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes the name looks like a weird string of characters. But here's a trick. Copy that weird string, paste it into the search box in the World Outliner panel. Often, that will actually highlight the problematic object right there in your scene.
Ah, clever workaround. Then you can just delete it or replace it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Investigate it and swap it for something allowed.
Got it. One last technical point, something about level instance and level loader devices not working like true levels. What does that mean practically?
Right. This is a bit nuanced. Those devices exist in UEFN, but they don't quite function like loading separate independent sublevels dynamically during the game, the way they might in standard Unreal Engine.
So you can't load and unload whole areas on the fly using them?
Not in the same way, no. But UEFN has something called playsets. You can set up a level as a playset, specifically a prefab type, in the world settings.
And what does that let you do?
Think of it like creating a pre-built chunk of level in a separate file, like a building interior or a specific encounter area. You design it there, then you can place instances of that whole chunk into your main level in the editor.
Ah, so they're like building blocks you make separately.
Exactly. But the key thing is they are edited at edit time. You can't dynamically load or change the contents of those prefabs during the live game. It's more for organization and reuse during development. It's a subtle difference, but important for how you structure larger projects. And it might change. UEFN is always evolving.
Okay, navigating those technical details is definitely part of the learning curve. Let's switch gears to the investment side. What does it actually cost to get started with UEFN?
Well, here's the really great news. Installing UEFN, using it, it's completely free.
Completely free.
Yep. All you need is that free Epic Games account we talked about. So the software itself doesn't cost you anything. The barrier to entry, financially speaking, is incredibly low.
That's fantastic. Free is always good. So are there any hidden costs or things people might end up spending money on?
The main cost, really, is your time. The time to learn the tools, the time to actually build your creations. That's the big investment.
Okay, time and effort.
But yeah, there are potential optional costs. We mentioned hardware requirements. If your current PC just meets the minimum, you might eventually want to upgrade for a smoother workflow. That costs money, obviously.
Right, better hardware. Makes sense.
And while UEFN has tons of built-in assets and tools, maybe you want some really specific custom models or sounds. You might choose to use external software, like Blender for modeling or a specific audio editor, and some of those might have costs.
Okay, specialized tools.
And learning resources. There are tons of free tutorials out there, but some people might choose to pay for structured online courses to learn faster. Again, totally optional. You can absolutely get started and make amazing things with just your time and the free software.
Right, so the core is free, extras are optional depending on your needs and budget. Okay, now, the question lots of creators will have, making money. How do you actually turn these UEFN islands into income?
Yeah, this is where the Fortnite creator economy kicks in. It's the system Epic has set up to potentially reward creators.
How does it work, basically?
The details can get complex, and Epic adjusts the policies, but the core idea is creators earn revenue based on player engagement with their islands.
Engagement meaning how long people play, how many people play.
Exactly. Things like total playtime across all your published islands, how many unique players visit them, and crucially, retention, how often players come back to your creations. Generally, longer play sessions and higher return rates mean more potential payout value.
So it boils down to make games people really want to play and keep playing.
Pretty much. Quality and fun drive engagement. Engagement drives potential revenue.
How do creators track that engagement?
UEFN gives you access to project analytics. These are tools that show you key metrics for your published islands.
Like what?
Average session length, return rates, how many matches get started versus how many get abandoned early, how many people are playing at the same time, stuff like that.
So you can see what's working and what's not.
Exactly. You can use that data. Heat maps can show where players physically spend time in your level. You can A/B test mechanics and see the impact on playtime. You can even see where players are discovering your island. Maybe you need to tweak your description or tags.
Useful data.
Yeah. And there's even an analytic device you can put in your game to run little surveys and get direct player feedback. While we didn't find the exact payout formula in our sources, the fact that there's a detailed UEFN monetization guide published by Epic tells you there are definite pathways to earn.
Makes sense. Are there any general strategies creators should focus on if making money is a goal?
Number 1, stay up to date with Epic's official rules and policies on the creator economy. They can change.
Okay, keep informed.
Collaboration can help too. Teaming up with others can expand your reach. Focus relentlessly on quality and player feedback. Build something good. Listen to your players. Make it better. That builds loyalty.
Right.
Promotion is key. Don't just build it and hope they come. And engage with the community, Discord servers, forums, wherever Fortnite creators hang out. Build connections.
Promotion. Yeah, that feels crucial. Our sources stress that you can't just rely on Epic finding your map in the Discovery tab, right?
Absolutely not. Discovery helps, but it's not enough on its own. You need to be proactive.
So what should creators be doing?
Well, think about digital advertising, like running simple text ads on Google for terms people might search for related to your type of game. It can actually work.
Interesting.
A personal website. Seriously useful. Showcase your maps, put the codes there, have image galleries, trailers, maybe a way for players to report bugs or give feedback. Build your own little hub.
Like a portfolio site?
Yeah, exactly. We saw examples like olddiaz.com, dragonstudio.pro, even team sites like alliancestudios.gg. It gives you a direct connection to your players.
What about offline stuff, like flyers?
You can, but be careful. If you use any official Fortnite logos or assets, Epic licensed materials on print ads or physical stuff like flyers, you must get Epic's written permission beforehand. It's in their guidelines. Clause 3.2.5. Clause 3.2.2 tells you how to ask.
Okay, important legal point there. What about influencers? Paying YouTubers or streamers?
Definitely an option. Paying influencers to showcase your map can get a lot of eyes on it. But again, rules apply. You have to follow disclosure guidelines like the FTC endorsement guidelines in the U.S.
Right.
Basically, make it clear it's a paid promotion. That's in Epic's Rules 2, Clause 3.2.4.
Right. Transparency is key. And then the obvious one, social media.
Of course. Make cool trailers or gameplay clips for YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Share your island codes, post updates, and share your work in dedicated communities, places like the Creative Block subreddit or Discord servers specifically for Fortnite Creative. Get involved. Show people what you've made.
Wow. Okay. This has been a really comprehensive look at UEFN. It definitely feels like a serious tool set, but also one with a huge amount of potential for creators.
It really is. It's a major step up for creating content within Fortnite. It offers the technical power, the potential audience reach, and even, yes, the possibility of earning income from your creativity.
So, for everyone listening who's maybe been curious about UAFN, hearing the buzz, we hope this deep dive has given you a solid foundation, understanding what it offers, how you could start, what to expect.
Yeah, hopefully it encourages you to maybe check out some of those resources, maybe even take the plunge and start building something yourself.
Definitely. And maybe we can leave you with a final thought to chew on.
Hmm.
With tools like UAFN making sophisticated game development more accessible than ever, what kinds of truly new, unexpected, interactive experiences do you think we'll see emerge from this growing wave of creators? And maybe more personally, what unique niche, what cool idea could you bring to life in the space?